Hey y'all, and good now, whenever and wherever this finds you. Welcome to today's episode of Pontification by TC. Today I want to talk about my transformation from a totally indoctrinated white man in a white man's world to come to realize that the story is always written by the victor. And while I grew up playing cowboys and Indians, and the cowboys were always the heroes and the Indians were always the villains, and I played Army, and of course what everybody wanted was to do the death scene, the one to be shot saving the others. And it was like, I can't believe the level of indoctrination. Every morning in school we said the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And started with a prayer. My father railed about how the communists indoctrinated their kids to be atheists and puppets of the government. But I went on believing in the story, of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The preamble where, to a more perfect union, to establish justice, and all those wonderful things about the general welfare and the tranquility and the prosperity for our future. And I really believed all that stuff, and I preached it. I was the benefactor of a system where we were still trying to help people out. I went to an apprenticeship school sponsored by the Home Builders Association of Knoxville, probably through some kind of government grant. But it set me on a course of having a wonderful life in carpentry, freedom to live a life outside the box, because I had this trade that I could take it anywhere I wanted to go, and it always had value. I didn't always have to act on the carpentry itself. I could still be myself in different situations. I did work for a holistic healing center, and at one point I was giving myself for a stipend of $50 a week in room and board. I loved it, and I had no real position other than spirit of the center. I really loved the news. I was addicted to the news. Like, it was something that we did as a nation. It seemed like every day at a certain o'clock there would come on 3 channels of news, and you could pick the one that you wanted of those 3. But pretty much you got the news of the actual facts of what was happening. And then there was the 60-minute show, and everybody loved that because that was exposing the corruption, things that were being done. While I was a firm believer in the American way, I did not get the political system. I didn't like the 2-party system. So sometime around when Reagan was elected, and I realized that I couldn't relate to either party, but I felt like I needed to do something because, Reagan was leading us off a cliff. He was cutting all the social programs, cutting taxes, doing everything for business and nothing for the people. And I felt like, I need to do something. So what I did was I started the Rock and Roll Party. And it was a party that is a party. And the idea was that we would acknowledge our unity as individuals and come together. Well, at that time, the idea was still to collect money to support projects that we liked. So the idea was to have rock and roll events and then collect the proceeds to give to different outfits that we believed were doing good for the planet and the people. Well, of course, the Rock and Roll Party was a lot of smoke and mirrors, if you know what I mean. It was really about me just getting high and hanging out with my friends and talking shit. But I did write a lot of letters, and I got in touch with my representatives, and I kind of knew them, or they knew of me, it felt good. And I was connected with a radio station, and they let me be on there sometimes. And so I was having a great ride. Of course, as with all great rides, they come to an end, and I hit the wall. And I told myself when I started doing drugs that if I ever got where I couldn't pay my bills, I would quit. And I woke up one morning and I couldn't pay my bills, and so through a process, I was able to quit. And that set me on a journey of self-exploration, to find out that what was wrong with me is I thought there was something wrong with me, and there was something wrong with me. I have a heretical, genetical, however you want to talk about it, but I'm predisposed to major depression and bipolar disorder, whether it's genetic or whether it's behavioral. I mean, I was raised by a man that had it, and there's no doubt about it that I got it. The point of this video is to say that I've come to the point to now realize that as much as I loved watching the news and as much as I loved thinking about things, it's like that time has passed. The time has come to be self-responsible and be aware of what's happening in my life and what's happening in the lives of people around me. And I was thinking that while the American empire is going to collapse or fall or whatever, just dissolve, fall off the stage, the question becomes, what about us? What do we the people do? What do the people that have been given all these so-called blessings that actually ended up in the hands of very few people, and most of us are living lives of desperation and survival? So how to come to a place where we can join together and create abundance? Because if we were each doing what we're passionate about and giving that to each other freely, there would be enough for everyone. So that starts with me, and I've been giving what I can do, which is videos and editing and whatnot. And I've been trying to share that with my friends, encourage them to enjoy their lives as is. My latest adventures were in using the 7 Ds of disruption or transformation to move us from this centralized top-down system to one of a decentralized bottom-up or horizontal instead of vertical structure for our society. My friend Christopher, who I'm working with on convergence emergence, that's convergence emergence, his idea is to create what I call a technical tea house, or a place in each community where people would come and they would learn how to use AI as their tool to enhance their lives and create their productivity, and so they could share that with others. And of course, in the beginning, it's like you would want to sell that to others to stay in this money system, but we need to move beyond that. And so we just start out by learning how to use these new modern technologies to serve us. So I lost my train of thought. In conclusion, I would like to say that everything is as it should be. I've moved from a indoctrinated cheerleader for the system to a open-minded, free spirit to call for the greatest revolution of all time, and that is the revolution against self-limitations and how we surrender our power and don't take responsibility for ourselves. What a journey to be on, to learn how to do that and share that with each other. So while the system as we know it is going to cease to function, we can create our own system where we're engaged with each other and sharing. So with that said, I want to share this with you. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you down the road.